The left tries to control language again and gets wrecked. Tony Fauci just won't go away. Greta Thunberg is MIA now that the new CO2 report has come out. And I don't understand why this stuff keeps happening in the United States. This is Gene, and you're listening to Dumbasses Talking Politics. Hey, this is Gene. Welcome back to Dumbasses Talking Politics. Okay, happy Mother's Day first off. I hope you had a great Mother's Day. I had a pretty good one too. I didn't get to see my mother, but you know, she knows I gave her a buzz. I saw her last week while I was in Los Angeles, so that was nice. But in the Democratic leadership, they had some nice messages. I'm sure the reason they came up with this nice message was simply because they didn't read the new language change that they needed to make. So Nancy Pelosi said something actually very nice. She said, quote, "Our mothers are our guardian angels, and we carry them in our hearts. Whether or not we are blessed to have them with us. Happy Mother's Day to you and your family." That's a very nice statement. I like that statement. I did want to bring that statement up. When they do good things, I like to point them out. That's a very nice Mother's Day message. And she's absolutely correct. So good for Nancy Pelosi. And then the White House released their tweet, and that wasn't as nice. Quote, "Moms have always built, shaped, led, and sustained this country, and we're committed to fight for the safe and equitable workplaces, affordable health care, child care, equal pay that every mom deserves. Happy Mother's Day." Okay, that was a tad bit more political and self-serving, and terrible. I thought, my gosh, you guys just can't drop this for 5 seconds. Constantly got to bring politics into it and make sure moms realize that they are the victims in the world. I don't know any mom that I know of that feels like a victim, so great. But, you know, it could be a lot worse. Could be like what Cori Bush said. Cori Bush being the Democrat, I think from, I don't know where, to be honest with you, but yeah, she's a little bit more terrible. Let's listen to this one.
"I sit before you today as a single mom, as a nurse, as an activist, and as a congresswoman, and I am committed to doing the absolute most to protect Black mothers, to protect Black babies, to protect Black birthing people, and to save lives."
Did you catch it? This whole rant, I should have played the whole. That's, by the way, thank you to Breitbart News. That's where I got the video clip from. But she's basically ranting about how Black people, again, racism, blah, 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 blah. I should have played probably the whole minute 30 of it, but that wasn't the point. The point was Black birthing people. Okay. This ended up being right before Mother's Day. This ended up being the term that was used by just about everyone. Here's a little compilation of how many people have used this comment, both political speeches in the news media. This one's from News Junkies Archive on YouTube. And it's a great little compilation about how they're changing the language. And now, you know, women birthing people who, I got to be honest, they got to be women. I mean, men can't birth anybody. So they can only get someone pregnant. Sorry, that's science. I know that's a terrible thing. But if you're a man and you're pregnant, that's because you're a woman and you just decided to look like a man. But listen to the little compilation, and I'm sure Nancy Pelosi didn't get the memo before she decided to retweet something on Mother's Day.
As we go into Mother's Day weekend, let us recommit our efforts and support to ensure that every birthing person across this nation is empowered and feels safe.
We have not created an infrastructure to support birthing people.
All pregnant and birthing people deserve to be treated with love.
Birthing while Black should not be a death sentence.
Health equity for Black birthing people is attainable.
Mothers and babies and Black birthing people are important.
We desperately need long-term fixes
to support the healthcare needs of Black women and birthing people.
The most marginalized Black and Indigenous birthing people.
To systemically shift the way we approach health care for birthing people of color.
And respectful of Black women and birthing people.
The maternal mortality crisis among Black birthing people in the United States.
Black birthing people.
And birthing people.
For birthing people.
Black birthing people.
And our Black birthing persons. For all birthing persons in Louisiana.
That birthing people want doulas and midwives.
And support for birthing people during the postpartum period.
There are not enough Black workers of color, leaving Black birthing people with limited autonomy or opportunity to receive racially concordant care.
Protect Black birthing people and to save lives.
Wow. Again, thanks to News Junkies Archives, I actually subscribe to them simply because of that great video. But here's the thing. The reality is Mother's Day is a bad thing for the left. Men can be men, women can be men, men can be women, women can be men. This confusion is an important change because it changes the meaning of language. I think it was Thomas Sowell that said, I'm not sure who said it, but if you control the language, you control the message. And so the left constantly needs to change the language. Here's a newsflash. There's no such thing as a birthing. A birthing person means mother, and that mother means female. Birthing person does not mean father. Men cannot be women. Women cannot be men. Men who become women still cannot give birth, and women who become men can, because guess what? They're still women. Science proves this. I remember when I was reading an article, and it was clickbait article that said man gives birth to a woman, and this was in man gives birth. First man in history gives birth, and this trans thing wasn't as big. I think this was 4 or 5 years ago. So this trans thing wasn't big at the time. And I thought, oh, well, what the hell does that mean? So I decided to click on it and take a look. And it ended up being, a trans man. So, in other words, it was a woman that gave birth. It wasn't a real man that gave birth. And the irony was lost onto this news outlet. I want to say it was the Daily Beast, but I'm not sure who actually wrote this. It was lost in that this woman who became a man was still biologically a woman because she got pregnant. If a man becomes a woman, the fact that he cannot get pregnant is just proof that he's a man. This stuff is always lost on those folks. That's why I won't change the language. When I talk about Caitlyn Jenner, I'll use he, she. I typically try and use the right pronouns, but I don't really care. And I remember Bruce Jenner for most of his life being a him. So, but I mean, this is the kind of BS that we need to stop doing. We need to stop doing and actually fight against it. If some guy who was a guy sat back and told me his pronouns were she and her, I just basically said, okay, whatever, I don't care. Because I called him a sir. I felt like saying, dude, I'm shopping in your business. Why are you disciplining me because you don't like the pronoun you've been given? By the way, you're not assigned anything at birth. You're born a certain way. The left also, and this is the bigger thing, the left hates the nuclear family. And mothers are part of the nuclear family. Fathers are part of the nuclear family. Even a father and a mother that are split up, they're part of the nuclear family. They hate the nuclear family because they want the government to be the actual parent of all children, of everybody. And if you have a mother or a father, that kid is going to be led by moms and dads. This is why kids being born out of wedlock is really not a great thing, because kids don't have that leadership and that moral authority in their lives to actually grow up well-adjusted. They don't want kids well-adjusted. And this is the big thing. The left hates kids. They hate kids. That's abortion is a prime reason. They just hate kids because they want these kids to grow up as pawns. They want these kids to grow up as drones. They don't want kids being individuals. Unfortunately, the nuclear family, and by the way, this is all the way since Marx. This isn't something that just happened. Marx in the 1850s or 1860s sat back and believed that the nuclear family was very difficult on Marxism because the family was that kid's bond, not the government. The government wants to be the bond. And the government would rather kids be left as would be orphaned and be as confused as possible because then they'll just listen to what the government says. And you're seeing that today. Well, fortunately, this did not really go well with anybody. Twitter just blew up. And I think Ben Shapiro, actually, he's one of my favorite guys anyway, he hit this the best. He said in a tweet on Mother's Day, "Happy Birthing Person's Day to all the egg-producing Homo sapiens of unspecified gender who made the decision to bring to term a meaningless cluster of cells." Very good, Ben. I mean, basically, he just destroyed absolutely everything that the left believe in, from men can be women and women can be men to abortion, the whole deal. So I think Ben Shapiro hit it with that tweet. But just remember, the one thing I hope you remember, just don't fall for this crap. Don't change your language. Even the pronoun thing. When someone gets insulted by my pronouns, by the pronouns I use because you look like a man, that's something you kind of need to fight a little bit. So there's that. Tony Fauci continues to just be a complete nut job. That everyone, for some reason, this guy is still in existence. I don't understand this. And I don't understand why he hasn't been fired yet. I don't understand why, even Biden, I don't know why Biden hasn't canned the guy. Well, here he is on ABC News, which really tells you something about the news. He's either on MSNBC, ABC News, 60 Minutes, CNN. He's never on Fox News because every time he's questioned by a conservative, he starts screaming at him about how they just are arguing with him against the science, and then that guy actually brings science out and he has no answer. But so basically it really makes news media look bad. So here is Anthony Fauci being asked about a normal Mother's Day next year. Is it possible?
Give everyone a sense of what the country is going to look like next Mother's Day.
Well, George, I hope that next Mother's Day we're going to see a dramatic difference than what we're seeing right now. I believe that we will be about as close to back to normal as we can. And there's some conditions to that, George. We've got to make sure that we get the overwhelming proportion of the population vaccinated. When that happens, the virus doesn't really have any place to go. There aren't a lot of vulnerable people around. And where there are not a lot of vulnerable people around, you're not going to see a surge. You're not going to see the kinds of numbers we see now.
This freaking guy. Yeah, no. That's pretty much what everyone said on Twitter. Literally. No. Not going to happen. We should dramatically be changing in the next couple of weeks. I mean, we're talking less than 10 people in 10,000 are actually catching this virus. And none of that is acknowledged. I mean, no one's pushing back on this guy. Can't you just say, hey, hello, California had like 12 new cases. Isn't it time to open up? I mean, someone throw a number at this guy. Someone throw like a statistic. I'm just saying. He also had said that masks were probably going to be seasonal. In other words, we're never getting rid of the masks. Yeah, no, not that either. This is one of the reasons why I want to leave California, is because, yes, I see exactly that we're always going to be wearing masks forever. We're never going to stop wearing masks. I wanted to go out and actually throw on a GoPro and walk into stores without a mask and see what they would say. Just to catch what they would say. And then I tell them, oh, I'm vaccinated, and see what they say. And that's the other thing with the stupid vaccine passports. I don't think anything's going to change, except it's more control over the population. I have a feeling that even if California is thinking about implementing California vaccine passports, I'm like, well, how is that going to change anything? Does that mean I can walk into a store? You know what? I bet you $1 no, it doesn't mean anything. And I have a feeling what it's going to mean. That's when you can go into the store, is if you have a vaccine passport. You still have to wear a mask, but you can actually walk into the store. The Biden administration has screwed this thing up since day one. And they already had a plan for it. So, and their screw-ups have been their messaging. It's just, messaging's terrible. I mean, on the campaign trail, you had both Harris and Biden saying that they would never get the vaccine if it was founded under Donald Trump. Like Donald Trump's in his basement with his chemistry set making a vaccine. I mean, it's just idiotic. They keep telling us we have to wear a mask even with the vaccine. What's the point of getting the vaccine if we can never take the mask off? I mean, Joe Biden is walking outside fully vaccinated with 2 masks on. Walking outside, the CDC has already said that there's no reason you can't walk outside without a mask. Even in larger groups. They refuse to support the opening of schools because of the teachers' union. That's the reason. But dumber people or people who don't know what's going on may think, oh, that means that this thing is still running around infecting everybody. The CNN still has the thing, well, 549,000 people have died. We already know that those numbers are overinflated. And what's weird is that Fauci said, oh, it's probably way more than 500,000 that have died. We probably are undercounting. I know, we are definitely overcounting. Fauci is an idiot, and he'll need to prove it. And now they're saying we may never reach herd immunity. Well, okay, we may never reach herd immunity, possibly because, the virus is not probably going to go away. It's probably with us for the rest of our lives. But as we get inoculated and as more people catch it, it's going to be herd immunity eventually. Well, probably not. But I mean, okay, whatever. I'm not taking that shot. And by the way, I did get vaccinated. I'm not saying you should get vaccinated. You should do whatever you want. If you don't want to get vaccinated, don't. It's not going to probably change your life at all. And I don't think any 2-year-old should get vaccinated. I think that's insane. For a virus that they have a 99.9998% chance of surviving? To get a vaccine that you don't know what they're going to do to a 2-year-old? What kind of asinine thing? I don't think you should get vaccinated if you're 20. There's no reason for it. It's just absolutely insane. So, we can figure that there is a reason for this. There is a reason. The schools are not opened because of the teachers' union, not because it's not safe to go back to school. The reason this whole thing is happening is just pure power. There's nothing else. There's no reason. Florida, Texas, they've been open completely for the last 6 months, and they have Florida, I don't think ever really closed. And they're doing fine. They're doing better than California, which has been shut down forever. They're doing better than New York and Michigan and New Jersey, who have been closed since day one. So, yeah, guess what? I'm vaccinated, and therefore I am not wearing a mask. And if you come up to me and you're not vaccinated, guess what? You can shake my hand. You can give me a hug. You can even give me a kiss. My parents I'm talking about. But I'm not going to be wearing a mask simply because Tony Fauci and Joe Biden decide to say so. They're idiots, and I want my freedom back. And I don't think that's a bad thing. I also think that this is something that is becoming more of the beliefs of people within the country. And we're beginning to see kind of the pushback. Okay, well, here's something. A new report was released by the Rhodium Group that found that Communist China's greenhouse gas emissions in 2019 were higher than the rest of the developed world combined. So their rates of CO2 production is at 27, make up 27% of all the CO2 production in the world. The United States, which at one point was about 25%, is now at 11%. India is at 6.6%. The entire EU is at 6.4%. And Indonesia, number 5, is at 3.4%. They're followed by Brazil at 2.8 and Japan at 2.2. So China is producing more CO2, more emissions than the US, India, the EU, all of the countries in the EU, and Indonesia combined. Absolutely incredible. What amazes me is the left keeps screaming up that socialism will save the environment. Really? Seems to me socialism is causing most of the CO2. So why aren't you talking about China? I mean, all these people like Greta Thunberg keeps sitting here and pointing at the United States like it's our fault. Well, we're at 11%. And then when someone asks her, what about China? Which is happening, by the way. They ask her about China. All they basically say is, well, China's a developing country. China's not a developing country. China is a developed country. Because most of their country is living in third world poverty. That's because of socialism, not because they're not a developed country. This is a group that actually launches rockets into space, has satellites, has their own infrastructure. It shows you how bad socialism is, that China is considered a developing country because most of their country is living in poverty. But no one talks about that. The other thing that drives me crazy about these environmentalists is, does it really make any difference that China is a developing country? We're all going to be dead in 10 years if we don't lower the emissions. Remember, the whole world's going to end. The United States has basically cut almost 15% of CO2 emissions, but the United States is still being pointed out that we're the bad people, we're the ones that need to continually cut our emissions. You know why? Because it's not about the environment at all. It's a grift. It is the biggest grift, political grift, in probably American history. And it's been going since the 60s. This whole thing is about equity and transforming the United States into a socialist, globalist country. It's about erasing our identity as a nation. It's about the jealousy that other countries have over the richest, most successful nation in human history. It's just been the big lie. And everyone knows it, including Miss Greta Thunberg, even though doesn't seem to really know a heck of a lot. As if we needed another reason, in the last story here, as if we needed another reason for gas prices to go up. Apparently there was a huge ransomware attack that was discovered on Friday on the Colonial Pipeline on the east coast of the United States. Now, if you don't know what ransomware is, it's when a hacker actually connects into a system, a computer system, and then encrypts all the data with an encryption key that nobody knows, and it's almost impossible to actually crack all of those, crack that encryption scheme. Then what the hacker does is they basically ransom off the key for money so that they can, so that the company will pay the money, and then they'll get the key, and then they'll be able to unlock their files. There basically is only two ways to fix this problem. It's either to pay the ransom and get the key and unlock, or restore data from backup. Now, most people will actually restore the data from backup unless they have really bad backups. They'll restore data from backup, but that takes a lot of time. Because this happened to Colonial Pipeline, they have to shut down their main piping system until they're able to actually get their data back up. The Colonial Pipeline operates a 5,500-mile system which moves oil from the Gulf Coast to New York metro area. It typically transports about 100 million gallons a day, and that's about 45% of all of the gas and oil on the East Coast. Prices are already going up. They jumped this weekend 6 cents, and we have already a higher national average, the highest national average since November of 2014. We are averaging $2.96 gallon across the country. Now, if you live in Los Angeles like I do, it's already over the average. The average price of gas is over $4 a gallon. And even though this pipeline really doesn't affect us, you could imagine that we're going to end up, it'll be another excuse to raise this to gas to $4.20, $4.30 a gallon. And California is lucky. We've got the benefit of having the new gas chemical mixture for the summer so that we don't pollute the frickin' earth again. And that should bump it up another 50 cents. So California is probably looking at about $5 a gallon by June, I think. I don't think that's unheard of. June, July. The pipeline will again be shut down until it's the main lines will be shut down until the ransomware is taken care of, but the smaller lines are still running, so it's not like they're completely down. The FBI confirmed that a group, an Eastern European group called DarkSide, is responsible for the pipeline attack. This group has been known to do this, and they have cost Western nations in Europe and the United States probably billions of dollars in the last few years. They are basically in it for the money. So this isn't a political group. DarkSide posted the following: "We are apolitical. We do not participate in geopolitics. Do not need to tie us with defined government and look for other motives. Do not need to tie us." Okay, bad English. "Our goal is to make money and not creating problems for society. From today, we introduce moderation and check each company that our partners want to encrypt to avoid social consequences in the future." I personally, I think it is so asinine that the United States gets hacked at all. First off, we invented the internet. We know more about computer systems and technology than any country in the world. Even our hackers, I think, are far beyond the hackers in the rest of the world. I don't understand why these companies cannot hire security personnel that cannot lock down their systems to the point that they never go down like they go down. This isn't even the first hack this year. Remember the huge hack of the government by the Russians. And I don't understand why we don't have a counter for all of this. For example, if Russia decides to hack or China decides to hack, and Russia and China do hack, so does North Korea, so does Iran. Hey, by the way, so does Israel, so does France. Some of that stuff I'm telling you is well known in the military world. That it isn't just our enemies that hack us, it's also our allies. Why we cannot set up a counter to, hey, Russia decides to hack our infrastructure, let's flicker their lights over in the Soviet Union. I'm pretty sure we can do that. And let's start doing it. So it's crazy. And here's the thing with ransom. If you know, I used to work as a IT person, as a security person, as a network and systems administrator. It's actually quite easy to control this stuff. To actually, nothing's 100% safe, but yeah, you could pretty much make it about 99% safe. And if you can't control all of this, hire yourself a hacker and fix. Infrastructure is never something that should be hacked. The government should never be hacked. None of this makes sense to me. And shame on the government and shame on our infrastructure for not being secured. And shame on all of them for not going after these guys. They should go after these guys. They should find them. And they should actually make sure they never do this again. Okay, that's it. You can follow me on, you can download or listen to this podcast on Apple Podcasts, Podbean, Podcast Addict, Stitcher, YouTube, and Rumble. You can visit my website at dumbassestalkingpolitics.com, where I have all of the links that you might want to take a look at, and all of the graphics and all of the video. I also just released a Dumbasses Talking Politics video short on YouTube, so go visit my YouTube channel at Dumbasses Talking Politics. I am trying to figure out how to separate my personal with my Dumbasses Talking Politics with my content. I just got something from YouTube to figure out how to do that. I plan to release another one later on tonight to celebrate parents, Mother's Day, and how awesome parents are and how awesome the nuclear family is. I hope you guys have a nice day. You've listened to Dumbasses Talking Politics.